There is new research from America's black communities on politics and the economy, and the numbers are not good. A poll by the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies found that 65% of the people they surveyed earlier this month described their personal economic situations as either fair or poor. Now, even more than that, 65% rated the overall economy as fair or poor. 50% said that they think things in the U.S. have gone seriously off track, while just 45% believe that the country is moving in the right direction. So we're highly divided on how we view our politics and our economy. So here to help us drill down on that poll and what it means in a few different contexts is Dr. Alex Camardelle. He's with the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies, better known as America's Black Think Tank. Welcome to BNC Live, Dr. Camardelle. How are you today, sir, first of all?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So let's dive right into it. Why are economic woes hitting us harder in the black community?
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack given that centuries of economic disadvantage have been imposed on Black Americans. And I think right now at this stage, post in a pandemic world where we've experienced a recession in the last couple of years, Black folks are not sensing much in terms of recovery. And that was the reason why we wanted to put forward this poll. And the results is we're getting close to the president's address, the State of the Union address coming up tomorrow, so that we can put a stake in the ground on how Black Americans view the direction of their economic situation, um, and hopefully so that the president could begin to prioritize Black Americans more in his policies moving forward.
Mhm. Now let's talk about loan and credit card interest rates paid in black and brown communities compared to other communities. We kind of speculate about this in the black community, but are those rates higher for us than they are for other communities?
I think that, well, you see that there are a lot of predatory opportunities out there that exist in Black communities, right? I think disproportionately, you find Black Americans may turn to loan products. They may not be safe, may not be affordable, but it's not necessarily because they are the best option available. It's because they are systematically targeting Black folks in many different ways that makes Black folks seem as though they are taking out higher loans, higher rates of debt, with higher interest rates, et cetera. So that's something that is plaguing communities, particularly low-income Black communities, where you see that predatory nature of debt in running rampant there.
Mhm. Now, one situation that, has really kind of caused this to grow within black communities and within black families is the equity gap that we missed out on being subsidized by the American government back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. So what would it take to equalize the situation now? And also, how can black and brown people have a part to do in it? What are things that we can do to move the needle in our favor?
So we have a lot of work to do in order to even begin to think about equalizing the wealth gap in this country, right? The wealth disparities are massive compared to between Black Americans and white households. And I think that some of the proposals that exist to address it, even just to get us closer to some parity in terms of wealth, include addressing some of the disparities in home ownership, definitely investing capital into Black businesses. But there are other things that are a priority among Black Americans, such as canceling student debt. There's a student debt crisis that's definitely impacted the ability of a lot of Black families to grow their wealth and their assets so that they can be financially secure in the future. Those are things that can't be overlooked when talking about the wealth disparities in this nation, because there have been public policies that have facilitated and reinforced wealth disparities in this country, just as you mentioned, with the history of redlining, with segregation, exclusion from banking, et cetera. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
And of course, the education and the information to go along with it all for us to know where we should be looking and how we can actually move things forward. So that's coming from the top down. We're talking high level government and whatnot. Let's start from the bottom up. How can we, people that we see each other out in the streets, what can we do within our communities to make things happen a little bit quicker?
Well, I think for one, I'm a huge advocate of advocating and organizing in communities to show up in your municipal government, your state government, et cetera, working through the faith community And other forms of coalitions is one way to get Black priorities to be front and center in these policy debates, not just in Washington, D.C., but in your own local community. So that's one of the main strategies that I would put forward. But I mean, I think engaging with media communities like BNC and many others is another way to stay informed. And definitely recommend staying in tune with the Joint Center and our work at jointcenter.org to learn more about what issues are affecting Black communities across the country.
No man is an island. No man is an island. It kind of makes me think of Nino Brown, what you just said. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. We should be networking with our community. Well said, Doc. Now, another kind of stifling figure from your poll says that 81% of Black Americans said that it is the government's responsibility to reduce the negative impacts of racism on them. Now, that's kind of a high level, big brain thought. What are your thoughts on that idea there?
Yeah, well, one of the reasons we wanted to even ask the question is because we know that the federal government has played a role in creating racist policy, right? Like many of the things we've already talked about were explicitly designed to exclude Black folks from economic opportunity. So, putting that question out into the universe and asking Black Americans who actually should hold the responsibility to correcting those issues really shone light on the reality that Black folks know that the government has played that role, has played that discriminatory role, and you can't fix racist policy with race neutral solutions. And I think that was one of the most exciting in really, as you mentioned, kind of jarring statistics from our poll is that Black folks recognize that the government played a big role in creating these conditions. It has to play an even bigger role in fixing them.
Mhm. Now, another large majority of Black Americans, some 7 out of 10, they plan to watch the State of the Union address. So is this a sign that people are sort of, not waking up? I won't say that. I'll say that they're just paying closer attention to how politics affects their life.
I think so. I mean, the State of the Union address is an important opportunity for the president to roll out priorities, not just looking backwards and reflecting on the last year, but also to reflect on the remainder of the term. And I think, given all of the things that are going on in the world that don't necessarily focus on Black communities, this is just another window into the minds and the priorities of the administration that may give Black folks some hunger and appetite to learn more about what the president's going to do to improve their economic situation in the country. So I think folks. I don't know if I'd say they're necessarily waking up. I think they've kind of been awake or busy trying to survive throughout this economic and public health crisis we've been living through the last couple of years. I think they're super eager and hungry to see how this administration is truly going to put their priorities front and center.